dependent, right? Just make sure how many resources are around it. But observer delay has come to a close. We're ready to bring this game to you guys. Game 1 coming at you.
Welcome to game number 1 here in this best of 3 between LucifroN and Leenock. LucifroN's going to be spawning in here in the south side, playing as the Roost, going to be dropping down his hunting cabin here with 4 workers on that building right there. And that's because he wants to get both scouts through from the hunting cabin, so it's really important for him to get this up as quickly as he possibly can. But who's he going to be facing up against today?
Up against him in this series today, playing as the English, already starting with that early farm transition, that nice little millfluence around those farms. It is Leenock, or the Leenoctopus.
Yeah, this is something we haven't seen in a while. Or at least I haven't seen in a while. It's something I was discussing with Beyond last week, is that we don't often see farms being dropped in the Dark Age, because we saw, I think it was Sort of, play the English, and he didn't look to add in farms till like the 20-minute mark. And he was just looking to make use of the berries on the map, the deer on the map, the boar on the map, which was kind of surprising for the English. But Leenock, he's taking a different approach this game. He's looking to add in just a couple farms here in the Dark Age, something that we used to see a lot in the early days of Age of Empires 4, but we've come a long way since then and seen plenty of other builds being developed.
Yeah, it's quite the interesting philosophy, actually, to go for those Gaia food resources instead of making your own farms. So with these farms, I think what really helps, especially against Roos, is you're going to be at a disadvantage in terms of scouts, which means you might be at a disadvantage in terms of getting sheep. So maybe Leenock thinks this is a good build against the Roos, just to make sure that you're able to get that food supply, 1, without the RNG of getting sheep, and 2, that's difficult to get raided as Roos makes those early nights. You might be able to save a villager or 2 if you're not going out to those areas.
We do see LucifroN already at tier 1 at least. We will be checking in to see where exactly he's at. We can hop out of the UI, which I don't like to do, but I feel like it's important to see where players are at when it comes to their bounty. But Leenock, interestingly, did open 2 scouts. Something that we don't see all players look to do, especially as the English, when up against the Roos. You know, sometimes it can, you can add in a second scout, sometimes you don't want to. But Leenock, he's decided to add that second scout in, so we'll have to see how much bounty he can look to deny. We see he's already killed quite a few of these wolves. And LucifroN now going to be dropping down that Kremlin. He's got a pretty nice position for it here. You know, you're going to be covering a lot of this wood line right here. He's also got the gold in the radius as well, pretty much blocking off the entire left side of the base here for Leenock. You know, he's not going to be able to get archers around here easily. So, nice position for him there. His stone is a little bit exposed if he does look to go for a second TC. But Leenock, he's looking to drop down that council hall in the base here, next to the gold vein.
Yeah, I actually really like that Kremlin place that you showed on the south end of that base, because the Kremlin, just like you remember, I mean, we always talk about the militia, but they do get a lot of upgrades that are given to the Kremlin that you don't need to research, one of them being Castle Watch. So you're going to be able to see multiple tiles ahead than a normal wooden outpost would for the Roost. So most likely he's going to be able to see to the end of that map, and if the longbowmen try to get to that area, that's a good raiding area for them to do so, and you could attack some sheep, you could attack some berries over there on the eastern side. Kremlin's gonna see it. Exactly.
And you know what else it's protecting?
The oh god.
I'm joking.
Move on. It's over.
But LucifroN not looking to call the militia upon the age up. Something that we do sometimes see out of players. They look to just immediately call it and send it over to the opponent. But, I mean, up against the English here, it's something you don't really want to be doing. You know, double arrows out of the town center, as well as possible longbow out on the field. It definitely makes sense not to call it straight away. You want to be kind of massing these up. Maybe try and get like a surround onto the army of Leenock later on in the game. Could be something that we see, but LucifroN's done a great job here with the sheep. Have a look at the amount of sheep that he's got.
Hey, that's all about just having the scout advantage. You know, you want to be getting that bounty, and you're lucky enough to get some of those sheep as well. Probably took a couple of Leenock sheep, maybe, that were closer to his starting town center. You can see LucifroN is going for stone over there on the east side, but might run into some big bowmen. Some of those longbowmen are going to start moving their way, and also Leenock going for spearmen in that barracks pretty early, knowing that knights could be there, and knights will be here. LucifroN dropping that stable.
I want to quickly take a look at the bounty here for LucifroN, so I do apologize for the little bit of lag, but there we go. We see he's on 5 above tier 2 bounty, so yeah, LucifroN's going to be feeling pretty happy about that. It's always nice when you just reach that criteria for tier 2, so yeah, LucifroN's going to be feeling pretty happy about that one. We see going to be on the stone hit for the second TC, dropping down a little bit of a wall. We're just going to be looking to try and stop the longbow from getting too close here.
I love that wall. Actually, I'm really glad you pointed it out. And also, he didn't put it near his stone mine, because I see a lot of lower elo players do that. It just means the longbowmen are going to shoot over it. Just because that wall's 2 or 3 tiles out of the way means that the longbowmen are going to have to go towards that town center. They end up taking hits from the town center. LucifroN actually making horsemen instead of knights. I haven't seen a Rus horseman in a while, but I can appreciate it. And just disrupting where these military units from Leenock are going to go, stalls them out for just a little bit of time, and now LucifroN able to get his second town center in a rather safe place right next to his deer patch, going to support some more food supply, probably end up making more units.
It's quite far out there, though, if you think about it. Like, this is quite a way away, you know, not really protected by the Kremlin. But he is going to be able to secure up the deer over here. Now, back to the point about the horsemen. This is something that I was actually a little bit confused about a couple weeks ago, because I was, you know, doing my thing on the ladder, playing as the Rus. Actually, no, I wasn't playing as the Rus. I was playing up against the Rus, and my opponent just massed up horsemen. But it actually worked really, really well, because they train a lot faster. You see 22 seconds there compared to 35 seconds. It's much easier to mass up horsemen and try and get a surround on your opponent. So I actually like this decision out of LucifroN here, going for horsemen. Even if he doesn't look to mass up horsemen at this point, you know, having just the one out is always nice as well, because you're going to be able to slowly pick off the scouts of Leenock. So we already see there, Leenock has lost one. So, you know, if he spots out the second one here, this horseman will be able to chase it down and kill it, unless, obviously, you know, army appears for him, which, you know, not a lot of scouts are going to be able to do up against that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the horsemen too, especially because you know what you're going to be up against. You know the English is going to build the council hall. You know they're going to make longbowmen, so you might as well make the unit that's, 1, faster to produce, 2, a little bit more cost-effective against those longbowmen. So I agree. I mean, it's a fantastic choice. Just usually against a civilization that's not English, you might not see it as often. And but one thing that we are talking about seeing, Kremlin seeing those units just because of that castle watch is going to make Leenock back up.
Yeah, this is a really nice position for LucifroN. Now that he's walled this up, he's sort of created like a nice little choke point here. So if Leenock does look to commit in here, you know, LucifroN has vision over everything. It's going to be really tricky for him to try and get any sort of damage. And if he does look to come in here and try and take out this town center, LucifroN's got a perfect position to just enclose on Leenock's army if he does look to push in.
Yeah, I think that's a good visual conception of you talking about Rus being as good on Lipany, just having that choke point. Leenock trying to equal the amount of town centers from LucifroN. A little bit later, doesn't go for that fast English 2cc build that we see. Going to go for it a little bit slower. Does get that gold mine though before. What's nice for the English, especially when you go up to Castle Age, you can always just go for King's Palace, get that 3rd town center for free.
Yeah, Leenock's quite a bit delayed here on this town center. I feel like he really could have done with this a little bit earlier on. As LucifroN, he's already 8 villagers ahead, which at this point in the game is pretty huge. It's like almost a quarter of the economy ahead. And LucifroN?
Yeah, and you can see the macro difference,
boy.
right? LucifroN's going up to Castle Age. You can see he's hoarding those resources at about 900 food, already has the gold for it. Because he dropped those barracks, he is going to put some man-at-arms in Leenock's face and say, here you go, buddy. Here's 10 heavy armored units. Why don't you go ahead and deal with that?
And you know what he's going to also call?
The boys.
Exactly. He's just going to call mass militia with a few men-at-arms. And I think he's just going to be able to wipe out this TC here from Leenock. I think that's the play from him.
Yeah, one of the fantastic thing about the Kremlins and the militia too. Oh my god, that high trade house. It's in Narnia, Merlin.
This is such a random position out of LucifroN, but I guess it works, right? That's a huge amount of forest that you get in there. And he's also going to be able to get the boar, and it's a super easy position to just wall up.
And even for Leenock, like, what is making you want to scout it? I mean, you can see the boar icon go away, I guess, at the right-hand side of the map, but he hasn't even scouted that area at all. He doesn't know a boar icon even exists.
This is a crazy position here for LucifroN. I love it, though. I think it's really smart. We have to see how much gold he... Do you want to do a little bit of a prediction? See how much gold he gets?
Oh, yeah. Prediction in chat for people that are watching. Definitely type out some random numbers.
We gotta be
for
quick.
a high
Gotta be
trade
quick.
house. I'm gonna say 215.
Okay. 190 versus 215. Let's see. 130. That's not a lot. I was closer, so I technically win, but I feel like I haven't won at heart, you know?
Yeah, I honestly got a little too cheeky with the 215. I thought there were a little bit more trees. I see 163 from Schlumpf, and I'll give him the win for that one. You win absolutely nothing, but I congratulate you on your guess.
Back to the game, though. Leenock, at the moment, it looks like he's got quite a bit of army. He's got 9 spears and 9 archers, maybe looking towards a bit of a castle age, as we see. Has moved quite a few villagers back over onto the gold, but have a look who's moving out now. LucifroN, he's on the move. He has his +1 ranged attack through. +1 ranged defense, sorry, and +2 ranged defense. So these guys are going to be looking really strong. Will need to fall back for the time being. Doesn't have a big enough mass. May look to call in the militia soon. I can't wait for the day when we have the call all militia button. That'll be really, really helpful. I believe that's coming next patch.
That is going to come next patch. Waiting for those militia to actually get called. You're going to want to feed those gremlins after midnight if you want to get them angry enough. But Men-at-Arms now at a decent mass here going up against the Feudal Age Spearmen. Good job getting wedge rivets, because not only those longbowmen are going to be peppering you, but if you get to the opposing town centers, you're going to be protected a little bit against that English machine gun at that hometown center. Look at these Men-at-Arms. There were only 6 of them, but there are a lot of dead spearmen on the ground, Merlin.
Yeah, there's a ton of dead bodies on the floor right there. I mean, Men-at-Arms, when they've got their +2 range defense, are just unstoppable when they're up against a Feudal Age force, right? It's so hard to deal with. And LucifroN behind this, he's going to be looking to pick up relics. Not calling in the militia quite yet, but he's continuing the production of Men-at-Arms. We see 4 more in the queue. He's up to almost 3 warrior monks, so really looking to pick up all of the relics. And it looks like he's going to be diving the TC now. We do have the... what's it called? Network of castles coming through. So going to be able to, you know, have that a little bit of extra attack speed that there on the Men-at-Arms. But I mean, these Men-at-Arms, they've just caused so much damage already.
Yeah, and for Leenock, I mean, with how many longbowmen in the town center there, he's just trying to do a death by 1,000 paper cuts at this point, and trying to get rid of all of these Men-at-Arms. You can see how long it actually takes. I think LucifroN did a good job in terms of the timing for him as well, because Leenock, he's trying to get up to castle, but he's also producing units at the same time. Leenock hasn't even started his castle age landmark yet, needs a couple hundred food in order to do that. And what does this do as LucifroN for the Men-at-Arms? It doesn't necessarily win the game for him. Obviously, it's going to produce a little bit of idle time. It's going to, you know, frustrate Leenock to try to make some army here, but it gives him that map control and all of these relics. You can see on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, there's a 1, but he's adding 3 to it, and probably gonna get all 5.
Yeah, that's pretty much what the Men-at-Arms are doing, right? They're just causing a delay on Leenock here, forcing him to make units, not letting him get to the castle age, which Leenock is going to be able to do very, very shortly. And behind this, you know, LucifroN's, he's picking up all of the relics. I'm sure he'll be looking to pick up the sacred site soon as well. But have a look at this, Leenock going to be dropping the White Tower, and have a look at that beautiful positioning right there on top of the hill.
I'm really glad you said it, because that White Tower is going to be the most aesthetically pleasing landmark that AoE4 fans have seen for quite some time.
That's if it doesn't get out.
Up.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be rough. 4 Men-at-Arms making their way through. No textiles through for Leenock. He's distracted at the moment as well, as the Men-at-Arms are going to be running into the base here, looking to focus down. Oh, this is awful. Leenock going to be losing out on all of his villagers. Then LucifroN, finally, Leenock going to be realizing, does he cancel the White Tower? Because if LucifroN starts to focus this down with his men-at-arms, that might be the age-up cost gone. It looks like LucifroN doing a lot of damage in the base here. Leenock will be able to clean it up, but the question is he going to be able to get up this white tower? So many units making their way in. We got all 5 relics being picked up. Militia could be called here as well. This is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, LucifroN's macro is insane right now. Just continuing to pump out the men-at-arms at such a high clip than he has before. I feel like for that white tower, you gotta get rid of it there, Merlin. Like, it's not gonna do anything on 2,300 health. And you have a couple men-at-arms here, which means you gotta send your army all the way up in front. If you send your army all the way up in front, it means those villagers... Oh, no, this is gonna be a slaughter.
25 villagers being pulled here for Leenock. He really wants his age up through. He does not want to cancel. I feel like at this point, if you're LucifroN, you just call in mass militia. You know, 24 militia right here, and send them and just target down this white tower. Because there are so many villagers
I completely agree. Yeah, call the boys now. 23 villagers are going to get into this white tower. LucifroN going to start to kind of change his army composition a little bit. I mean, he's adding some knights, he's adding some crossbowmen, but I completely agree with you. I feel like he's ending the game right now.
Yeah, I mean, more and more reinforcements are on the way. So many villagers getting taken out here. Leenock still yet to grab textiles. He's down by almost half the amount of villagers. The white tower's going to get up, but at what cost?
Oh, cost indeed. The white tower is going to finally start shooting at those men-at-arms, adding a little bit more oomph to that defense. But again, I mean, as much as we enjoy the castle on the hill, and that's what I'll call it for the rest of this cast, LucifroN could just go around it.
I mean, LucifroN can just sit back here. I mean, look, he's got all 3 sacred sites. He could go for a sacred site win right now. I mean, Leenock's army, very immobile. You know, he's down by a lot in economy. LucifroN's up in army value. I feel like he could just go for the sacred win. You know, you may need to invest in like a keep or 2. But sacred site victory here is definitely a possibility. His gold income right now is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, high trade house, plus 5 relics, plus 3 sacred sites. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head for Sacred Victory. You see the blueprint for all those fortified palisades, and so it's going to help him out. Leenock's army composition predominantly longbowmen, and to take out a fortified palisades, I don't know if we're looking to have a 3-hour game, but for Leenock, it's going to take that much amount of time to actually take down those palisades unless he does something about it. 8 minutes and 35 seconds till Sacred Victory. LucifroN adding some cavalry as well with one of my favorite technologies in the game, Merlin, Boyar's Fortitude.
Dude, this upgrade is so damn good. Like, ever since it got buffed, this is just a must-have upgrade. It's so cheap, doesn't take that long to come in either, and it's plus 30 HP. It's huge.
It's so synergistic for the Rus too, because of how much they like cavalry. You can see the warrior monks with the knights, so they will add, if those warrior monks attack, will add Saint's Blessing, which I strongly recommend. If anybody is playing Rus, you got to make sure all of your battles are going under Saint's Blessing, just because of the amount of damage and armor you actually get from the blessing. Then Boyar's Fortitude making them a little bit tankier, not only for the warrior monks, but for the knights, for your scouts, for your horse archers. If you choose to make them, LucifroN going just for the knights, he's looking for some villagers, Merlin.
He really is. He's looking to dive underneath his TC here. Needs to be careful though, doesn't want to overcommit. I mean, we do have quite a few crossbows here out of Leenock, but you know, LucifroN's just like, it doesn't matter to me. We've got warrior monks in here. We got plenty of knights with all the upgrades you can possibly get for the time being. This is just going to be a slaughter. We got more men-at-arms coming in from behind as well. Crossbows also reinforcing here. You know, LucifroN's just going around this white tower. This white tower is not defending the base whatsoever. This is usually why we see white towers placed in between TCs. But unfortunately for Leenock, the white tower here does nothing. Villagers going to get slaughtered left, right, and center. The army being completely taken out. And with that, GG is going to get called. Leenock going to be tapping out of game number 1 here. LucifroN 1 up in this best of 3.
Yeah, sometimes a lot of things that I like to say when somebody's going for a sacred site victory, sometimes the best defense is a good offense. And that's exactly what LucifroN did. One thing that I did want to say before the game got called, I'm still talking about Saint's Blessing, Merlin, and you're gonna talk about trade. I'm gonna talk about Saint's Blessing because I just love it so much. Those knights had 7 ranged armor. They're right in front of that English TC. They're right in front of all of those longbowmen, And I mean, I said before the longbowmen were shooting BB guns at him. It's not BBs anymore, it's marshmallows at that point.
I wish I could go back to the map and see that, but yeah. I mean, Roost Knights are absolutely crazy when they've got that Saint's Blessing. Kind of reminds me of Marlian Sofas with their insane range defense.
Oh yeah, yeah, with that imported armor for sure, for sure. But I mean, you take a look at the villager count here. I know you said it a little bit before, so you don't have to go back to the chart. But how many villagers actually went down from that white tower?
Yep.
I mean, to be honest, I'm really glad we got to see it because it really was. It was the most beautiful white tower I've ever seen. I mean, but those walls were painted red by the end of that.
You can't blame Leenock, right? If I saw a position like that for a white tower, you got to take it. You know, it's a must.
Oh, score be damned. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, you see that cliff, you're like, you know what? I'll go down 1-0. It's fine. Everyone's going to remember that tower. Yeah, and plus, for how much we're talking about it, everybody is going to remember that tower. But white tower, we're not going to see in this one, obviously, as Leenock did play the English before. It's Abbasid and HRE. Merlin, we actually had an Abbasid HRE in our first series.
We did. I can't actually remember who won. That's kind of concerning that I can't remember who won. I believe it was Holy Roman. It was Holy Roman Empire. It was the Holy Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to see if Leenock can look to win this game here. He's playing as the Holy Roman Empire, so he needs to win this one to stay in it. Going to be up against LucifroN's Abbasid though, and LucifroN, it's got to be one of his best civilizations.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to see what Leenock chooses to do as the HRE. Is he going to go for a second town center like Zertin did in the first match? And honestly, even though it was a little bit delayed that first time, I actually think it worked really well for him. He was able to get the feudal age men-at-arms that helped him get the map control, get to Regnitz, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. We'll see if Leenock takes a similar approach. You're exactly right with LucifroN and the Abbasid dynasty. If there's one player, well, I could think of probably about a couple hundred players I don't want to see on ladder, but seeing this guy and then seeing him pick Abbasid dynasty, it's putting the fear of God in me.
Yeah. But if we do go to the next game, Leenock's got some pretty nice picks. If we take a look at the civilizations, he's got access to China. Now, China up against Delhi and the Mongols. I feel like Leenock's got a good shot with either of those matchups. So hopefully he can try and pull back a game here, make it 1-1, and try and go to that game number 3 here. But yeah, it's certainly going to be a tricky one here. So we're about half a minute away. The observer UI lying just a little bit there when it comes to time, but very, very shortly we will be hopping in.
And the one thing for Leenock that I want to talk about too, and I'm going to basically admit my boomer status in the AoE 4 scene because I was around when the game actually came out. And when Leenock started playing this game, if I remember correctly, he only played China.
Yep.
And that would be the civ
That's what he was known for.
Yeah, he played that for months. I'm thinking he's going to dust off the cobwebs a little bit, but he's got to make it through this game. I am going to introduce the HRE again, but you can go first.
All right. So, spawning in the north side of the map here, we've got LucifroN. And today he's going to be playing as the Abbasid dynasty.
And his opponent playing as the HRE, once again, using that prelate, spreading the word of their Lord Jesus Christ to all those villagers. It is the Leenocktopus. Prelate doing a good job, waving his hands all the way up in the air like that, and just getting that wonderful glow. Man, I wish I had a prelate behind me when I was doing work on a day-to-day.
Thinking about it, what is that he's holding? Because it looks kind of just like a branch. It doesn't look like much of a fancy staff.
I actually believe, just because it's wooden, I think it is a branch from one of the trees in the Garden of Eden, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, the more you know.
It's very nice.
But back in the base of LucifroN here, we see he's not going to be looking to move out for the berries, something that we discussed in the last set. Players, playing as the Abbasid don't tend to move out for the berries anymore, so we're going to be playing it very standard here. I'm sure we'll be dropping down his House of Wisdom very shortly. And I wonder if we're going to be seeing the military wing out of him. Because that is what we saw last set. And it works pretty effectively. It denied away a lot of TC time for the Abbasid opponent. So maybe we see the same this game. I'm not exactly sure if Leenock's looking for a TC, but I assume he will be.
Yeah, and based on this spawn, definitely, because you're highlighting it over on the map, and that's what I'm going to talk about too. Based on this spawn, really good Occid places. Here, Zerton didn't have that kind of 100%, you know, really good Occid place. Leenock now does, and will have the ability to get. He can go second town center. He can go fast castle with that Occid placement, which kind of disguises what his game plan is going to be. Usually you look at the Occid and you can kind of figure out what your opponent's going to do. With how good this Occid is, we're not going to be 100% sure. LucifroN, you talked about going military wing. Oh, what a good Occid prediction. Merlin, you highlighted that exact place. I think everyone should have some claps in chat for Merlin. But LucifroN not going for military wing. He's going for the economic wing, and he wants those crescents as fertile as possible and as early as possible.
Yeah, certainly a viable option, right? You just want to get down 3 TCs as quickly as you possibly can, and I think he's going to be going for these deer packs right here. It's a nice little position for it. You've got a nice little, like, I'm not exactly sure what shape this is, but it's a nice defensive shape, right? So that's going to be nice for him. I assume that's where he's going to be placing it. Maybe looking for a TC. Actually, there's not really a lot over to the north side here, so I think that this is where he's probably going to be looking to place those TCs. And he's just going to be looking to get them up faster than the Holy Roman Empire. So, obviously, the Holy Roman Empire can get through their second TC pretty fast, but it's going to be the third TC that LucifroN's really going to be looking to get up, you know, nice and efficient. And then they've got fresh food stuffs as well. That's going to come in really handy for them.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I mean, we noticed this in the first game as well that we saw, but it's funny because they know the civ they're playing against, so they know how greedy they can be. You know, I mean, LucifroN he put his villagers on stone already, and he's going for that second town center. He knows that HRE is probably not going to be much of an aggressor. Again, HRE just likes to do their own HRE things. They like to play solitaire a little bit and just sit behind their base, do their own thing. So LucifroN's like, well, I'm going to send some villagers to stone. I'm going to put the rest of them on wood, get this second town center, because I know nothing's going to happen anyway.
Looks like Leenock is going to be gathering up the wood first. Now going to be moving his villagers over to that stone position. I feel like if this gold was ever so slightly closer, you could have gotten all 3 resources in that Archon Chapel radius. How good would that have been? But, you know, I guess it's always good to have it closer to the wood line here. In fact, you probably could have gone even closer just so you have, you know, most of the wood line here in radius. But, you know, still a nice position here. You're going to be able to get some nice farms around here as well. So he's going to be feeling pretty happy about that. Second TC is truly on the way here. LucifroN, though, we see he's almost got enough. Fertile Crescent is in.
Yeah, and you can see how much that town center decreases. Instead of 350 stone, it's 262. It just means for how much, I mean, it kind of negates the HRE with their inspiration, right? They're going to be gathering resources a little bit quicker than you, obviously, because their villagers are inspired. So just because you have that little bit of decreased resources, you can kind of keep pace with them.
Yeah, and then you've also got to factor in fresh food stuffs as well. You know, that's going to help out a lot here for LucifroN getting up that third TC, which I will, I mean, we can see that he's going to be gathering for a third TC. And that second one is going to be dropped down on the deer pack, as I suspected. Am I going to be bang on point again with the placement here? Are we going to be seeing the third one on this deer pack?
Well, you're already 1 for 1, so I would know better than to bet against you. But take a look about how greedy these town centers are. I mean, Leenock has his a little bit pretty far away from his starting town center. LucifroN going for that deer pack a little early as well, because for the Abbasid Dynasty, usually their second town centers, you see a little bit of this micro. I wish we all had this APM, right? To just pull those deer, send them to a different area code to make it so the HRE has to put their mills down. But again, for that second TC for LucifroN, usually for the Abbasid Dynasty, they'll put it near the stone because they want to make their stone as protected. He knows, again, the HRE not going to be aggressive, so he's cool with this stone mine. He's going to try to get his food resources as much as possible. So he really LucifroN really understands the situation that's presented to him, and he's making the best possible decisions. Something that, again, not only LucifroN but some of these higher elo players are just so good at.
Yeah, and that's it, right? He's going to be moving out now with 5 villagers back onto the gold. I wonder what he's going to be looking for with this gold. Probably looking to grab wheelbarrow, I'd expect. Maybe a couple other upgrades. Maybe horticulture, specialized pick. Could definitely be a viable option for him. As we do see that third TC gets dropped down on this deer pack. I called it from minute 1 here. Have a look at that. The perfect TC positionings.
And the Aachen positioning. So actually, you're 3 for 3.
Yeah.
It better be careful. You're due. You're due to mess up. I might stick 3 for 3 if I were you.
What else can I predict this game? I think we'll be seeing a...
Did you not just hear me? I said
yeah.
Don't do it again.
Well, I'm going to do it anyway. This is a wild prediction right here. I think we'll be seeing a Regnance at a Leenock. I know, wild prediction. Absolutely wild.
Dude, you're insane.
I know. No one would see it coming, but... Anyway. LucifroN, you know, he's got up his third TC now. He's got fresh foodstuffs through. His villager count going to be starting to creep up. We see it's already ahead by 3. Leenock is now going to be dropping down some barracks as well as a blacksmith. They're probably looking to grab his Iron Undermesh as well as Bloomery. Maybe even marching drills. And he's going to be heading towards the base of LucifroN now. But the question is he going to be able to find much value here? I mean, TCs are relatively close to each other here. We got a stable coming down, and maybe we see an archery range down. This is like the perfect position to go into camel riders. You know, no archers are here for Leenock. I say that there are archers on the way, but not many. Not many.
But I mean, you're exactly right on LucifroN's base, because he has those TCs positioned so well. All of his resources that he truly cares about are really protected. So Leenock, I mean, he has 4 men-at-arms right now, and he's going to be ending up queuing more, but he's going to need a solid amount, because what really is going to turn the tide of this game if Leenock can actually take down one of those town centers.
Yeah, LucifroN's now starting to add in some horsemen. I always love the fact that he does this with his horsemen. You know, always just sends one of them out to just track down enemy scouts. He understands how important scouts are in this game. And LucifroN is going to get pushed back now, but Leenock? No, this is LucifroN's. This is LucifroN's. He's starting to wall up the relics here. Have a look at this. He's walling up all of them, apart from this one, which is understandable. Yeah,
this is something we didn't see in the first game. LucifroN obviously having the APM to do that, but it just means that Leenock is going to be delayed to get those Castle Age relics. The issue is, though, for Leenock, just because of the fact that he has the ability to make the early men-at-arms, and the fact that the men-at-arms exist, it just means he's going to have that little bit of map control. So he might end up taking down those walls or preventing them from getting built anyway. As you can see, that map control really making an impact, as Leenock is having his little vanguard forces, couple early men-at-arms, couple archers, just pissing off LucifroN pretty much.
LucifroN's looking towards a Castle Age now, but the problem for him is he's been pushed off this gold. We see that he's got enough food. He's just missing 300 gold. And he doesn't have a lot of... In fact, is this his closest other gold? He's got this one over here, but it seems like he's just given up on the gold.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out, because his gold spawns weren't that advantageous to him. And also, I mean, if he wanted to go castle, you got to remember, for the Abbasid Dynasty, you can't speed that up in the House of Wisdom, so it's still going to take a decent amount of time. Horsemen are going to get in on those archers, pretty solid flank. One thing about the men-at-arms, just because they're slow and they're not much of a DPS unit, they just went around them, and now they're going to run away.
Yeah. Barely any damage onto those horses. Well, I say that one of them's on 27 HP, but for the amount of damage that they did taking out those 2 archers, it's really not a lot of health taken off these guys.
No, it's definitely not. He's gonna, I mean, he only has 1 stable, but man, is that stable churning. We have 5 horsemen in the queue for him.
LucifroN's food economy right now is absolutely popping off. He's got so much food stacked in the bank. He's got a load of horsemen in the queue. He's just struggling on the gold. It looks like he has finally returned back, so should be able to get this age up through. There we go. Military wing going to be coming through from him now, so should be able to retreat back off of this gold, which he is indeed going to be doing.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, if Leenock continues to make army, that would be the longest minute and 30 seconds of LucifroN's life, just trying to make sure he gets to Castle Age. But Leenock deciding not to do that, actually, and goes with the Regnitz Cathedral. Merlin, you're 4 for 4.
I sure am. I mean, it doesn't make sense to go Burgrave, right, when you've already got a load of barracks down. But it's going to be tricky here to pick up the relics.
Yeah, I mean, even though it was an easy guess, it still counts as a correct one regardless. Leenock actually losing a couple troops up there in the north. Not going to be good in terms of map control. Once Regnitz Cathedral actually gets placed, and then LucifroN has the military wing going to get a couple of those camel riders, it does mean that he'll be able to spread out maybe a little bit in the map, get that moss down early, get a couple of those Abbasid imams, because the best way to prevent the HRE from getting those relics is just taking them for yourself.
Yeah, precisely. It does seem like Leenock will be able to grab at least 2 relics here. I think this one's going to be pretty easy for Leenock to grab, as we see the product going to be picking this one up. Can always go for a little cheeky Wallow if he needs to as well. Plenty of spears here to deal with the horsemen. And the one back at the base, I mean, yeah, that's not really a question there. But these other 3, I mean, LucifroN should be able to pick these ones up. He's only 17 seconds away now from the age up. He's going to get 2 camel riders upon the age up as well. I'm sure we'll be looking to go into... He's going to be looking to go into men-at-arms, I think. Have a look at that. The amount of barracks and archery ranges that have been dropped down here. Going heavy into production.
You know, the multiple barracks in those men-at-arms, you can see the barracks queuing them up just about automatically when that military wing comes up, is really quick thinking from LucifroN, because Leenock went into a little bit more spearmen. When you go into spearmen, obviously the men-at-arms being that counter, now that he's going to add some men-at-arms, going to help against those spearmen, and he's going to be adding some crossbowmen. Even though map control is important in this stage of the game, trying to get those relics, both of these guys going for more foot soldiers, if anything else.
Yeah, Leenock yet to grab through his heavy maces upgrade, so not going to be doing any bonus damage towards the men-at-arms here of LucifroN. And LucifroN, we just saw the upgrade come through. He's now got boot camp, so going to be giving an extra 23 HP here on the men-at-arms. Also has some crossbow here. So, you know, he's got a great composition right now. Leenock, you know, it looks like he's going to be 3 relics up. Does he know about this relic over here? Yeah, he does. He does. Okay. Just taking his time on it. Makes sense.
I think we're seeing the main difference between what sort of did as the Abbasid dynasty as opposed to LucifroN, because how much time it's actually taking Leenock to get these relics. He didn't necessarily stop him from getting them, but just the delay. We're at 14 minutes in the game, and he still only has 1 relic that's actually giving him resources. Second one is, you can see that prelate moving with his religious artifact, his precious, as we can say, probably going to be dropping into one of those outposts. But just the amount of time it took Leenock to do it, and how many resources it took him to do it too, really gives LucifroN the advantage. And he has the advantage now, not only in map control, not only in military, but take a look at his economy counts. 86 villagers to 69. Nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's got some great advantages here, especially in army value. I think that's really the key here. He's up by almost 2,000. So, you know, Leenock's got in some decent gold economy, but, you know, LucifroN's here. He's dropping down a ram. May even be looking to drop down a mangonel, possibly. I mean, we got quite a few archers in here, so mangonel could always be nice, but I think you can just continue to mass up men-at-arms and crossbows. Maybe a trebuchet could always be nice here.
Yeah, honestly, I really like the siege difference. Like, with the Abbasid being able to not have siege engineering, and then you're able to build them on your own with those mangonels and springolds, of course. It's going to make Leenock react. He has to make a siege workshop, which is 300 health. But now, big fight. I don't think that ram's even going to get a hit on that outpost, Merlin.
I mean, yeah, it looks like it's going to get taken out here, but LucifroN's going to be able to do some decent damage onto the army here. While the army does focus down that ram, Ram is able to survive as well. More reinforcements coming here for LucifroN as the 2 camel riders make their way onto the battlefield. I don't think these guys are going to be doing too much here. And Leenock, he's pulling a prelate. He's wanting to go for the relic, but it gets picked off. Has Leenock just given LucifroN a free relic here?
Yeah, I think if LucifroN does win this battle, and it looks like he's going to, he has
easily
the range
wins it.
mass behind of all these crossbowmen.
And the battering ram
oh my God.
is still alive. And we see here Springald only does 1 damage onto it. That outpost is going to get taken down. Leenock gifting the relic over to LucifroN. Leenock now only has 2 relics in the bank. It may even be 1.
I really hate to say it, Merlin, but that really felt like a throw.
It really did. It really, really did. And LucifroN, he's just continuing the production right now. We see the amount of men-at-arms on the way. It's not very often that we see this. Abbasid men-at-arms winning up against HRE men-at-arms. And we see here Leenock still yet to grab his heavy maces upgrade. An upgrade that could have really changed the swing of this battle. Because it's men-at-arms versus men-at-arms. HRE should be winning that fight every time.
Yeah, and it's definitely because of the heavy maces, just like you said before. And right now, LucifroN, that boot camp really helping him out. If Leenock had those heavy maces, it'd be more like a quality over quantity kind of matchup here. But now military count 52 to 19. It doesn't really look like Leenock is going to have any kind of way to recuperate, because look at this production. Not only is it forward, but it's getting taken to Ram Ranch. He's trying to do that defensive keep. He knows that's not going to go up. Defensive structures going to be difficult for him to make now, as we have almost 50 units in the military count for LucifroN right in front of these Aachen farms.
And now the mangonels here for LucifroN, going to be able to deal with the crossbow mass starting to be made here for Leenock. It's not very often that we see the Holy Roman Empire making crossbow up against Abbasid men-at-arms. Something really don't see too often, but that mangonel is going to get taken down. But I mean, LucifroN, the amount of idle time that he's causing onto the Arkham Chapel farms right now is absolutely huge. He's so far ahead when it comes to the economy. His army mass still looking really strong, up by 6 times the army value.
Yeah, and you can see the production, Leenock's production buildings up front. They're just popping out these random spearmen, men-at-arms, or whatever. They're not going to be able to mass up, and you're exactly right with these Aachen farms. His food per minute is going to dwindle so much that prelate in the Aachen chapel, using his megaphone, he's screaming into the void right now.
Looks like Leenock's now looking to go into a mass horseman transition, but it's going to be difficult here. I mean, yeah, horseman up against men-at-arms in a small mass like this, it's not pretty. It's not pretty. And Leenock looks like he's trying to get down his keep now on a sacred site next to this big gold deposit, but he's going to be calling GG. LucifroN going to be taking the set 2-0.
What a big difference, as we saw from the first matchup to the second, Abbasid versus HRE. I think a lot of it, again, you know, we're walling relics. He went with a complete out eco boom in feudal instead of military wing and putting pressure on, which for LucifroN seemed to really work out. You could see how big of an impact having those crescents being fertile and having those foodstuffs being fresh.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, throughout the whole game, just slowly making that lead bigger and bigger. And then we take a look at military count. We see here, just way above Leenock.
And that's kind of the power spike for the Abbasid dynasty. You know, I see some pro players when they're talking in other pro players' chats and stuff. And I remember one that Nine Racing Cat said in Wham's stream. He's like, if Abbasid gets through feudal, they're fine.